So it should be pretty easy. So I guess to start off with, they wanted me to ask if anyone has had a TSA job.
Wait, did you start the broadcast yet?
Oh, yeah, I just did.
Mine showed it was off air, so I was like, oh, I guess we're going for it.
Yeah, it should be on now.
Very good.
I haven't had a TSA job.
Nor have I, but I just got back from traveling yesterday to Ohio, so I'm familiar now.
Nice. Perfect. Oh, well, I already knew that. So, the first part that they want us to talk about is what you think it would be like to work as a TSA agent. And if you imagine yourself in that job, what would you like and dislike about it?
I think I would be really stressed because it's kind of like it's like a big responsibility that you have. You have to be extremely vigilant and make sure that people aren't sneaking stuff in. And even the x-ray machine, looking at that, I feel like could be pretty stressful. I mean, it seems like people get pretty smart with the way that they hide the
gun at the end of the case.
Yeah, the gun at the end of the case. I don't know if I would have caught that. So I would be really stressed out and probably really anxious all the time.
I would be the same. I'd be pretty it would be a stressful job because obviously if you let something go through, it's going to be your fault if it ends up being something serious. But I do have a friend that works for TSA at, I can't remember what airport, but she said that they're also, this is going to sound really bad and I was really surprised when she told me this, but they're kind of taught to overlook certain things that to me seemed like super unethical to overlook. So that would be kind of annoying to have to work under, like, her manager tells people, the other agents to do that, and that would be really frustrating to overlook things that are kind of really important to not. So
what do they overlook?
Like child pornography that comes through the airport, and like things that are like red flags, like people with suitcases full of money and stuff. So that kind of bothered me. But I mean, I guess that's not really what they're there for. But to see pictures and stuff of child pornography and then you just let it go through, that would be really annoying.
So there's like a difference between safety and unethical issues.
Yeah, so
interesting.
But anyways.
I was thinking about it, and I don't think I do very good because I don't really like being around people that much, and like you get all kinds of people going through there, and so I don't think that I would be able to handle the people very well. Especially, we took a trip to Mexico, and oh my gosh, it took us so long to get through like customs and everything. Like Oh yeah, it took us like 24 hours to get back. So I just don't think I could deal with people because it's stressful. Like if you're late or something like that, and so people would kind of get emotional. I feel like and kind of get upset. So I just don't think I could.
Were they speaking English to you?
What was that?
Were they speaking English to you?
Yeah, they were.
Really? And it took 24 hours still?
Yeah, well, that was with like flights and everything, but it took us like 3 hours to wait in line at customs and things. So it was just when we were 3 or 4 when we were back in Sacramento.
That's ridiculous.
Oh, it was so annoying. I was like, and they had like 2 people working. Inefficient. It was so inefficient.
2 people? Oh my gosh.
It was so annoying. And our flight, like,
it's like they're trying to make everything.
Well, and our flight got messed up, and so instead of us being at the front of the plane, we were in the back of the plane. So like everyone got off, and we were like one of the last people. Oh my gosh, it was like the worst night ever. But I just don't think I could handle that because if someone like me comes through, like I know I'm not, if I'm stressed, I'm not nice. I don't think I could do that.
Yeah, definitely not.
When personally, like what people say to you and stuff? you wouldn't be able to take. You'd have to have thick skin.
Yes. Oh yeah, definitely. And I don't. I feel like I would get upset just right back at them, which is obviously not professional. Don't laugh at that. So with regard to the case, what do you think that they should do, or O'Reilly should do about Sanchez? What kind of action should be taken for the breach?
Well, I definitely think it was irresponsible of him to be on his phone with his daughter when it happened. But I didn't like either. There was like, she could either terminate him or she could downgrade him basically to the position that he was in at the time the event happened. So that didn't seem right to me. But I don't think he should be terminated. But I think that there needs to be somewhat of a repercussion so that he can. Obviously, he probably won't ever talk on his phone again because if they reprimand him properly. But I don't really know how they could reprimand him. So maybe you guys have their idea.
Yeah, the guy definitely, like, he felt really, really bad about it. And it's obvious that he's not going to make that mistake again. In fact, I would be surprised if he even brought his cell phone out, like of his locker or whatever, again. But I don't know. I think there definitely needs to be an example made because this is people's safety, people's lives that are on the line. So they can't really go easy, but at the same time, the guy, he is pretty valuable generally to to that airport. So it's just kind of finding a happy medium. Maybe I know you said demoting wouldn't really work because that's where he was at the time when it happened. But maybe demoting him to something else for a couple months and then bringing him back up, kind of like as a suspension or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know if they'd be taking it as far as like a layoff for 2 weeks or something to I don't know of a penalty or what, but just to show other employees how serious you are about that they're filling and make sure that that's clear, and then in the future reiterate and or information that to do certain things that are big no-nos.
Yeah. Well, I feel like so after that article, the Get Abstract, where it was talking about discipline without punishment, I feel like in this case, that's kind of something that can happen. I don't know. I just don't know if like punishment, like something like really bad, is warranted in this situation because the employee hasn't shown a pattern of negligence in the job. And so, it's like a one-time thing. And it's not as if they were like, oh, whatever. Like they took it really seriously. So I feel like, maybe they talk about like formal reminders and things, but maybe, having, I don't know, I'm trying to think of something that's not like horrible, like being fired or, having to take a leave of absence. Yeah, I can't think of anything. Gosh dang it. Because I feel like it just isn't. Oh, wait, they have it right here. Formal decision-making leave. Suspension without pay. So I feel like maybe that for like a day or two. Oh, gosh. Should happen. But I don't know. I just don't feel like firing is the right thing to do in this situation, Because the person they aren't like doing it intentionally. And they weren't doing it to harm someone else,
Yeah, I totally agree. And I still think that I definitely wouldn't fire him, but I think an example has to be made out of him, even though he hasn't shown a history in the past. If there is someone like another agent that's constantly on their phones or something, they need to be more like cautious of that and more aware of not doing those things because they could potentially be, suspended or fired, things like that. And if you are able to make an example out of this guy, then they'll be able to be more aware of that, and less people will use their phones, which is kind of bad. But I still don't think he should be fired for it. But maybe a suspension is a good idea for a couple of days.
Yeah, like for without pay for a week or something like that. 5 days.
Yeah, something like that. Is
Um,
that too harsh?
what was that?
I said, is that too harsh? I don't know.
I don't know either, but it is a big deal. Like they did have to shut everything down, and they had to get the bomb squad dogs out. So it is like it did kind of cost a lot of money too to be able to,
Yeah, that is true.
solution. But I think that in that case, like then you can kind of, I don't know if you can send like a company-wide thing out where it says like, okay, like this is the policy now. Like we're going to, we'll give you reminders if we do see this kind of action. But if it this, then this is going to be the consequence.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Like a company-wide thing, or maybe just like for their position. But it might be a good idea to remind people that it is a problem.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Let's see. So if he is fired, who will replace him? What? It's not just like anyone.
I don't remember seeing anything about who could be up for his position. So
I didn't see anything on that. Okay, next. If we don't fire him, then what do you think that the other TSOs are gonna think?
They're either going to think that it's special treatment or that talking on the phone is okay. I don't know if I would think it's okay because obviously, something bad happened because of it. But some people think it's okay. We can still talk on the phone. That's cool. That was just kind of cool that happened. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things that's just hard to make like an executive decision on because it doesn't happen all the time. So if it's sometimes the first time it's happened, you kind of have to play it by ear and decide how you want to go about it.
I think as long as we do something like suspending him without pay for 5 weeks, they'll realize that it was a serious thing that he did, and they'll be less likely to speak on the phone. And they'll realize, like, even though we didn't fire him, we still did something.
Yeah, and I feel like maybe firing may bring like company morale down, and it might kind of discourage people or make them kind of fearful of their jobs, which like obviously you should be aware and not feel like you want to feel secure in your job, but you still want to like have enough of that like drive to want to do it well, I guess.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're totally fine. I mean, because like they have their core values, and one of them is team spirit and stuff. So I feel like if they did fire him, they'd kind of be like, firing one of us for for one mistake. I understand if like someone died or something, then yeah, but it wasn't anything like a fatality or anything like that.
Yeah. When I think like the guy has been there for 7 or 8 years now, and to say that one mistake would define his whole career, that to me is obvious. It would mess up the morale if you fired him, because people would think, okay, we're loyal to this company, but they're clearly not loyal to us, and that would be a problem. So I don't think it would be a good message to give.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And then they go on to ask if that whole article we read, the discipline without punishment, is that something that could be applicable in this case, or do we still agree that a punishment has to happen? And if it isn't, is it ever appropriate to use discipline without punishment? If that makes sense.
Sorry, I'm just going back over it. I think in this situation, because even though nothing did happen, if something, there was still the potential for it to be like a really high risk situation, that there should be punishment.
Yeah. Can anyone think of a situation where it would be appropriate to have discipline without punishment? I just think it's kind of silly sounding, like positive contacts, formal reminders. I mean, I understand formal reminders. So they're classifying that as discipline?
Maybe if you're like late for work.
Oh yeah, that's true. Something smaller.
Yeah. Something like that.
Or maybe not
Yeah.
following like exact protocol for some things. Like it's not like life threatening, but maybe like skipping a step.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not looking at an X-ray long enough or something.
Yeah, and it says like, so like attendance, performance, behavior. So if you're like acting out against other employees, or you're kind of, maybe even behavior towards your own customers, you have like poor customer service or something, maybe that's where you need those formal reminders and positive contacts and stuff. So
That's what the bird needs. Actually, I want them to discipline them.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So they talk about the paid decision-making day, or what is it? Yeah, a paid decision-making day in the abstract. So they were just asking, is it time for him to take that paid day to, think about his job?
Sorry, take the paid day to what? I didn't catch the last part.
Oh, sorry. It's just the in the reading it talked about the paid decision-making day. Is it time for him to take that? Isn't it like that he, everyone's kind of thinking about their, his job, like supervisors, and he's thinking about his job, right?
yeah, because they said if they don't pledge that they'll work to meet the standards, then they must resign. So yeah, they're deciding.
Is it him or is it me? Or is it?
It's the employee.
Okay, so they have to decide if they, want us work there still.
I think so.
I feel like he doesn't even need that because he knows that he wants to work there. Like he's upset about it, but it's not something that he's like, I want to lose my job over this.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I think like we don't have that approach to suspension without pay. Oh, because this one's paid leave though.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, okay. I don't think he needs one of those. I think without pay is the punishment. So.
Yeah, that would suck. Do you think that oh my gosh, this message. So, okay, I have to read this question out loud because I don't really understand it when I read it. Would it be appropriate to punish Sanchez to send a message to the airports, the public, and other TSOs, even if punishment wouldn't improve his performance?
What? Read it one more time.
Okay. Would it be appropriate to punish Sanchez to send a message to the airports, the public, and other TSOs, even if punishment wouldn't improve his performance? Oh, so like, do you understand it? Like, if like,
Yeah.
Okay, I just got it.
Yeah, once you read it the second time, I understood. I mean, of course, you want it to increase his performance. Actually, I do have a question. Do they mean the performance of other employees or the performance of Sanchez?
Of Sanchez.
Yes. I just don't see how he wouldn't improve his performance. I I don't think this guy will ever talk on the phone again.
Yeah.
So
Well, and I feel like it is appropriate because it's not going to improve someone's performance. It could improve someone that's not in that situation right now's performance. It could sending a message can help someone else to be better in their job or more diligent or something like that.
yeah.
So we all decided that he shouldn't be fired. What would it take? What kind of an action would it take or a problem would it take to fire Sanchez from his job? Like what you think, a certain incident or something?
I think if it happened again,
One more time.
yeah.
What is
I mean, I would say with you, if your boss's job was in jeopardy and, to the point of being at a fireable offense, I guess it depends on the severity of it, but those should be outlined before he even gets the job, saying, hey, this is a fireable offense, like just FYI. So make sure you don't do this, because if you clearly state that up front, then there's no reason why they shouldn't know what's okay and what's not.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. So the next part is the breach. The security breach, was it entirely Sanchez's fault? And in what ways did the TSA contribute to the breach? That's a tough one.
maybe they need to have two people where he was at his station.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah. But really, I think it was mostly his fault. So.
Yeah. I think that they also, I don't know, I didn't see any rules or anything, so maybe they need to have little reminders at each station, like this, this is what you can and cannot do, maybe.
Yeah, no cell phones, stuff like that.
Yeah, really make it clear, this is what is expected, this is what can happen, this is what's not appropriate, while you're at work.
And one of the people in charge can also walk around and make sure that people don't have cell phones as well.
Or other distractions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that there's anything that they could have done to prevent the situation better? I like the idea of someone walking around and kind of monitoring and making sure that everything's running smoothly.
Yeah.
I think that's smart.
If they would have seen him talking on his phone, then they probably would have said, hey, you gotta get off your phone and save your phone calls for your break or whatever.
Well, and if he was on his phone, it makes it sound like it wasn't that busy.
Yeah.
So maybe the fact that you have frequent rotation shifts, from being someone at the x-ray machine watching the baggage go through, and just that you're always moving, you're always rotating, so there's no downtime to just sit and be on your phone.
Yeah, that's true. Did they talk about any policies in the case? I feel like I didn't
catch any, I don't think.
Yeah, I didn't see any.
It's asking, are there appropriate policies in place to prevent a security lapse? But I didn't even see anything specific in the case. Oh my gosh, they have a role play. We're not doing that.
No, they don't. Are you serious? They gotta quit it with the role play.
Oh gosh. Okay. Let's see. Do your best to select people who would take their roles seriously and act the way these people really would.
No. That's definitely not group 7.
yeah, I don't take it seriously enough. Okay. Okay, well we can just talk about it. So one person is supposed to be O'Reilly, and this is the moment when Sanchez is showing up to work and needs to tell him what the decision is. So how do you think that? So we decided that he would get 5 days of, a week of unpaid leave of absence, right? So, do you think that this is the right decision, and how do you think that Sanchez would react to that news?
Well, from what we've talked about, the fact that he seems pretty genuine and not making that mistake again, I think he would be a little bit more understanding if he said, yeah, I know I made a mistake. So yeah, whatever you feel is necessary for being reprimanded, I guess I'll, take the punt. Like, that's the kind of attitude I would see him portraying.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like he would take it pretty well, just because he knows what was on the line and that it was like a big mistake. I feel like I don't know. If I was him, I think I would be relieved. Like, yes, I don't lose my job.
Right.
Yeah, I still think it would be difficult though to hear that you're not going to get, like, obviously he's trying to take more shifts and stuff and pay for his daughter's college. She's like 5 years away from college, but that's what he was saving up for. So it's still going to be hard to stomach the fact that he's going to lose a week of work, but I think he'd rather have that than to be fired.
Yeah, I agree.
He'd probably be kind of quiet when he takes it, I would think.
And it asks, so everyone really respected him. Riley respected him, and really liked him as a person. How do you tell someone that you like on the job and that you respect that they're not performing the way that they should be, like they're not doing their job as best as they need to? And is that something that's hard to do?
I think that's. Oh, go ahead.
I think it depends on how you approach it, honestly. When you speak to someone about their performance, you can go about it the right way, and like, you set the tone of the conversation. So if you come in with a negative connotation about how they're performing, instead of, talking about what they've done really well and how much you appreciate their efforts, and then not to go back on your compliments and say, but, because that takes everything that you just said away, but to say, and, I've noticed there's always areas to improve, and I wanted to, see if you'd be willing to work with me on your overall performance. Like, is that something you could be willing to do? And if it seems like he's the kind of guy that would say, yeah, what can I do better, then it shouldn't be as hard.
Yeah, I like that. I agree with that.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I think by letting him know that he's doing a good job and stuff, he will be more aware of the fact that that's part of that contributed to him not being fired too. If you can make that point as well, so that it shows validation that what he does right actually made a difference in the situation.
Yeah, and I feel like he already he fully understands what he did, and the consequences and everything like that. So I think that he understands that he's not up to par. So by complimenting and letting him know that, he is still a great employee, really would kind of help soften the blow of this whole situation. Because he was embarrassed, I have to give him that. He was embarrassed, and he did, understand what was going on. So
yeah, definitely.
Okay, so we decided that he gets unpaid leave. They give suggestions like, should we put him on probation? Should he get additional training? So do you think that?
Maybe some sort of training, kind of like when you get a ticket or something, you have to go to traffic school. You know, even though you know what you did wrong and you know you're not going to do it again, you still have to like put in the time to get it removed from the record.
Yeah.
Something like that. Like he has to do some like additional training or something like that. So, you know, just a little bit extra to show all the other agents that they're serious about this, and just because he is kind of one of the favorite employees, he's not going to be dealt with any less harsh.
I agree.
Okay, okay, so what actually happened is that he got a warning but was not fired. However, 2 months later, he caused another serious breach. Oh my gosh. Oh, dude, come on. Obviously, they needed to do a little bit more. I think our plan would have been good.
Yeah. Did they fire him?
No, so now they're saying, like, what would you do now? Like, now that he's caused a second breach, like, what would you do? You know, what would you do now? I feel like I would just say you're done.
They're already gonna let him go.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing, TSA is no joke. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, this is the opportunity for people to make it safely to their destination, no matter where it is, and it's a national security issue. It's not just a day job.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it definitely has the ability to impact more than one life if a decision or if something's overlooked. So
Yeah.
I definitely think that he should be fired, but since he caused another breach.
The state can cost a lot, so you know, they can't really afford to keep him on after that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely just fire him after that. That one chance, dude, and then you blew it. Okay, perfect. Well, that is the whole case. Is there anything important that you learned from the case? Do you have anything that I can do better next time, or anything that I did right?
Well, I think you did great. So you were well prepared. So
I'm just happy that I got this case because last week's case.
I know what a headache last week's case. That'd be really hard.
I know. Houston was like, Sydney needed to talk more. I was like, well, I didn't have anything to say. It was. Ugh.
There was a lot to it. So
It was.
I liked this case much better.
Yeah, the next week's should be interesting. I don't understand what that means, but perfect. Well, I will go ahead and stop the broadcast.